Even someone as musically inept as I am can appreciate that kind of talent. Superb performance, an outstanding young man, and will certainly miss your talents at assemblies and these sort of forums. Well done. It's now my opportunity to briefly share with you some of my thoughts. As another year threatens to transpire in accelerating fashion, it is a pleasure for me to be able to reflect on what has been a stellar year at King's. Honestly, each year I conclude the ceremony astounded by the achievements and the development of our young men. And in my quiet reflections, I think it's going to be really tough to top that next year. And almost miraculously, as I stand at this lectern each year, there is significant improvement to both note and celebrate. And this year is no exception. In the academic realm, our NCA results published at the start of this year saw us securing our best collective NCA returns. By the way, that's the same opening line that I've started this address with for the last 4 years. Highlighted by 85 excellent certificate endorsements, 147 merit certificate endorsements, and 28 scholarships. And as David's already noted, the latter was the highest number of scholarships gained by any school in Otago since the inception of scholarship in its current format in 2004. It is indeed a superb reflection on the culture of academic excellence that now permeates our school. Importantly though, this success is not restricted to just the academic elite. Our pass rates across levels 1, 2 and 3 average just on 90%, placing us third amongst state boys' schools nationwide. The data really does tell the story. The key to collective success, as always, is effort. The staff exert themselves extensively, providing energy, expertise and their time, while our young men continue to display great maturity and resolve as they pursue their potential, and the education that they now understand will provide them the platform for a successful future. This combination forged by our staff and students is indeed proving to be a potent one. On the sports field, we have continued our ascent. The 4x400 metre relay team defended their national title. The touch team podiumed, placing third in New Zealand. The small ball team ninth in the country. The hockey team 10th at the prestigious Rankin Cup, while the junior first 11 football team were crowned national champions. And being a part of that was personally the most rewarding week in 24 years that I have had in teaching. On a personal level, we celebrated 15 national representatives or national title holders. Remarkably, some of these young men made full national representative honours. The field of nominees for the Salter Trophy, which is our elite sporting trophy at Year 13, was actually bordering on outrageous. Such was the scope and depth of talent. In the cultural arena, our young men continue to flourish. A national gold guitar winner, a New Zealand secondary school choir member, a National Drama Award recipient leading to workshops, and the chance in 2018 to perform on the stage of the Globe Theatre. A top 10 placing in the Namanu Korero speech competitions, and our Kapahaku group, Hei Waka Katuya, securing a spot at Nationals for the third consecutive time. Simply outstanding achievements. It is our young men and my amazing staff who have worked in unison to build and foster the remarkable climate and culture that exists in our school. I am exceptionally proud of what I'm a part of at King's, and I'm completely committed to preserving and enhancing it. Values assemblies each Monday morning are firmly embedded as part of our school landscape and routine. The boys are subjected to me presenting an array of principles designed to consolidate the core school values. In Term 3 this year, our focus centred on Sir Winston Churchill. We considered the substance and circumstances of his life, and in particular relevant quotes that really are aimed to accentuate some key life principles we want our young men to get a hold of. One particular quote that we contemplated really resonated with me. Churchill said this: "One ought never to turn one's back on a threatened danger and try to run away from it. Never run away from anything, never." And without being too dramatic tonight, I believe there are some dangers looming, and some that have already surfaced that threaten the remarkable school that we've cultivated, and beyond that, education in our country as a whole. I've personally been challenged by the words of Winston Churchill. I do have the choice to turn my back on what I perceive as threatened dangers, to run away, or use what time, tools and talents I have to combat those dangers and seek to preserve what we're building at our school. So instead of turning my back, I want to briefly address this evening 3 imminent dangers as I see them. Firstly, I believe we're in danger of losing our purpose. As a school, we are by definition an educational institution. We are designed and we're funded to prepare our young men for life beyond the confines of our school. We're charged with doing that by educating them in mind and in heart. And frankly, we work exceptionally hard at it. We are completely committed to building men for life. However, our ability to effectively fulfil this purpose is under threat. Alarmingly, in my view, we are increasingly becoming as much a social institution as we are an educational one. The expectations imposed upon us now as a school to attend to and reverse the ills of our society are completely unrealistic, and they are beyond our resource capability. It seems now the first questions about the inappropriate text message sent by a school-age person in the weekend or the underage young person attending a party that goes wrong are not what were the parents thinking and what will the parents do about it. The first questions now are what school does the young person go to and what is the school going to do about it? And we've seen that in the national media this year when 2 boys in the North Island wrote completely inappropriate comments on a closed Facebook group from the privacy of their homes on a Sunday evening, and the only entity lambasted and chastised in the media was the school. The fact is, the lines of demarcation between parental and school responsibility and accountability have not been blurred. They have been completely obliterated. Increasingly, there is an expectation the school is the fix-all. And in the event of poor teenage decision-making, it is at the school where the blame and criticism is levelled. I have to tell you, I remember my teenage years with clarity. Wasn't that long ago. Laughter wasn't appropriate. And I remember my poor decisions. And I want you to know none of them were the school's responsibility to own, nor was it their domain to clean up the mess that my decisions created. Why has that changed? I believe it's not our parent body who thrust these expectations upon us. It's the media, and it's increasingly a broader societal expectation. I want you to know the next person who sends me an email about what a current or former student allegedly did in the weekend and tells me they expected more because we are meant to be building men for life, because people love to quote that back to me, may well be surprised by the response they receive. We are in danger of losing sight of our purpose. We teach our young men great values. We try our best to model them. We have the Kingsman Society. We're embarking upon a new and exciting school-wide program called Positive Education. We have external speakers who talk to our boys about appropriate and inappropriate use of social media. We're beginning parent seminars next year. We have an amazing student support network and a great school culture. We couldn't do any more. I will not allow our energies and resources to be absorbed trying to remedy and mediate issues that sit outside the purview of our school. If I allow that, then we're in danger of losing our purpose, and the casualties will be the very young men that we are charged with caring for. So I think we're in danger of losing our purpose. Secondly, I think we're in danger of losing our profession. You see, we find ourselves in the middle of something called the 21st century learning movement. It's a movement that is driven and designed by theorists and ideologists, not practitioners and pragmatists. And it threatens our profession. You may not understand this, but for a new build, the classroom model being superimposed upon schools by the Ministry of Education is an open plan teaching space. The essence of it is this: get rid of the walls, get rid of the boundaries, let's all indulge in self-exploration and embrace the chaos. And by the way, we're bombarded with compelling jargon to support this model. You see, classrooms should be flexible learning spaces. Classrooms should be innovative learning environments. It sounds good, doesn't it? The fact is, the good ones have always been exactly that, even when they had walls. The schools I visited in Australia and the UK who've trialled this model have put the walls back up. Why? Because it was too noisy and the student-teacher relationships were compromised. The outstanding teachers I've spoken to who have taught in this environment found it draining to the point of exhaustion. You see, it's never been about the space. It's always been about the quality of the teaching within that space. And yet this unproven, ineffective model is being thrust upon us to the detriment of our young men's education. This learning movement also proclaims that extensive use of digital devices is the path to success and engagement at school, and indeed beyond school, because all jobs in the future will be jobs of a digital nature. But these assertions are simply not true. A 2015 OECD report titled Students, Computers and Learning found, and I quote, "Overall, students who use computers moderately at school tend to have somewhat better learning outcomes than students who use computers rarely." We might expect that. But students who use computers very frequently at school do much worse, even after accounting for social background and demographics. When this research is combined with the extensive study conducted by the International Boys Schools Coalition, which found that primarily boys are relational learners, you get a sense for the most important driver to effective education in a young man's life. It is not a device. It is the relationships our young men make with their teachers that will determine to a large extent their success. A device is a useful tool to access knowledge, but to suggest that the teacher should become a mere facilitator of knowledge is to misunderstand the essence of human connection and the power that that connection plays in education. By the way, in terms of all jobs being digital in the future, that too is a fallacy. By far the greatest area of need in our current environment is in construction and engineering, followed by hospitality and tourism. Those industries are fundamentally about critical thinking and human interaction, not sitting behind a device. The 21st century learning movement based on beliefs, not evidence, is a danger to our profession. Thirdly and lastly, we're in danger of losing our passion. I have to tell you, I started teaching because I loved it. I love to unveil and unlock the world of economics to my unsuspecting students. That's true. I love to converse with them about the news and plunge into the significance of the Reserve Bank or the impact of Rogernomics, even though it's sat well outside the scope of the course. And we'd vacillate in the classroom between course requirements and real-world issues, between storytelling and curriculum. And it bred a joy for learning. It ignited in us, both teacher and student, a passion. But we're in danger, both student and teacher, of losing our passion for learning. The very real threat is the assessment-driven educational system that we operate within. A system where there is little scope for freedom or flexibility. It's repetitive and it's relentless. You ask your young men when I've spent more than a year in NCA. One assessment concludes, another commences. One assessment's marked and another is ready to be marked. There is no respite. We're certainly doing what we can to combat this flawed structure. We're reducing credit numbers in courses. At level 3 next year, students will do just 5 subjects and get 5 hours of instruction each week to alleviate the stresses associated with this over-assessment. However, an entire system review is needed before our passion for learning is supplanted by compliance and assessment schedules. Sir Winston Churchill wrote, "One ought never to turn one's back on a threatened danger and try to run away from it." And he was right. I understand our fight is not on a battlefield, but we are in a fight. It's a fight to preserve our purpose, our profession, and our passion. It's a fight to preserve the amazing school and the great culture that we are building together. And we can't afford to turn our backs. And I'm confident that collectively we will not, because we value our young men and their futures. I want to thank you for indulging me this evening. I think that's enough talk of threat and dangers and fighting. It's time to turn our attention back to the celebrations that await us. Our next recipients this evening are the winners of the Year 9 Excellence Awards. In this battery of awards,